everybody. Welcome to the Lighthouse Project. I want to go over tonight's sponsors. We have many. Thank you very much for everybody. And if anybody's interested in sponsoring future classes with Gedale or any other teachers, you can go on Facebook at the Lighthouse Project, and you can go and send your message, and we'll be happy to contact you for future sponsors. Tonight's sponsors are Anonymous for the Aliyah, the Neshama of Miriam Hania Bat Sarah Imenu. Ronit Goldenberg for her son's good health, Noah Goldenberg. Levi Godlewski from Muncie, New York, in honor of Levi Itzhak ben Rivka and Kila Bat Alta Freda Devora to have Hatzlata and having real Emunah, Parnasa, Revach, true happiness, and Shalom Bayit. Mary Silverman to thank Hashem for everything He's given her, especially her beautiful family, and for Refuah Shlema of Rivka Bat Janet. Michelle Edelstein for the continued Refuah Shlema of Yaakov ben Malka and for successful and safe trip to Eretz Yisrael of Esther Bat Malia. Raphael Aviv in honor of his children, that Hashem should bless them with good health and happiness. Anonymous for the success, happiness, and good livelihood of Gabriela Bat Istam. Refuah Shlema Ephraim ben Leah and Refuah Shlema for Adina Chaya Bat Aviva. Michla Irba from Atlanta, in honor of her husband and daughter's birthday, Kalev Yehoshua ben Sarah and Elisheva Ahava Bat Michla Esther. Ben Zion David Godlieb in the merit of clarity in marriage and for Parnasa Berevach. Anonymous for Shmuelka ben Chava to find his zivug and have clarity in all he does. David Zerulnikov in honor of blessings for his children, Yehoshua ben Zechariah and Oli Bat Zechariah. And for the Refuah Shlema Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatia and Devorah Fega Bat Reisel. Joseph ben Melech in honor of Refuah Shlema Devorah Fega Bat Reisel. Mario Sapazik in honor of the Refuah Shlema Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatia. Maria Sianova in honor of her husband Menachem Mendel ben Abramov, that Hashem should bless him in his work and Parnasa v'Shefa. Rami Boazi's in honor of the health and success of his family. And our corporate sponsors, DJ Acquisitions, the Refuah Shlema Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatia, Devorah Fega Bat Reisel. And a birthday Facebook shout out to Daniel Mordechai in honor of the Refuah Shlema of Yehonatan ben Hana. Thank you guys.
Welcome to the Lighthouse. Thank you guys. Amazing sponsors. Michael, you doing this for the money or are you doing this for the class? Sounds like you're doing it for the money, Michael. So everybody asks me, why am I doing this? It's because 17 years ago, I personally got saved from Rabbi Nachman's teachings. So I have a lot of debt to pay. So I'm doing it really because the debt I have to pay. Because if it wasn't for Rabbi Nachman's teachings, God knows where we'd be today. We know what's going on today in the world. We know the stress. We know all the uncertainty that's going on in the world. So that's why we do this. People always ask me, why am I doing this? I'm doing that for that reason. Because if I can help exactly how I was helped, it's the least I could do is have a little gratitude for the gifts I was given. Okay? Today we're going to talk about a major concept called hisbodedut. Okay? This is probably the number one game changer. I always talk about number one game changers, but this is really the key to everything. I say it all the time in the classes. Oh, you have to do hisbodedut, you have to do hisbodedut, you have to do hisbodedut. I myself was in Breslev for 17 years, and I didn't start doing hisbodedut until I was already 10 years into it. Because it's not easy to do. It's not an easy thing to do. You know why? Because life, you can always put filters. You know, you have your phone, there's no exposure with God. But when you start talking to God, you can't have a phone, and that's when the real truth comes out. So that's why people they like to avoid that. As long as I have a filter in life, I could deal with it. But once I have to talk to God, it's a whole different story. So one thing about hisbodedut, it's really, Rabbi Nachman says, it's greater than everything else. He says it's greater than anything else. Unfortunately, in the Jewish world today, with kids, what do? They give the guy a book. Here you go, pray. They don't talk about, by the way, it's a relationship with God. It's not just, you're not just mumbling words. So that's why a lot of people disconnect with prayer. Because they were taught earlier, here's the book, just pray. Without having the relationship. Without having the relationship, what are you praying to? What are you praying for? So that's why people look at it as an obligation instead of as an opportunity, and prayer has become so heavy. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, cannot stop your prayer from going up, but it could stop you from praying. Right? The number one reason people say, I have no time. And I always give this example as you see a guy trying to cut a tree, and you tell him, by the way, spend 10 minutes a day so we can sharpen the saw, and then things will cut much easier. I don't have time to sharpen the saw. So all day long, he's trying to cut, and if he would have just taken 10, 15 minutes just to sharpen the knife, he can cut through everything much easier. But he says, I don't have time. So again, that's the mind frame that we are. It's also hisbodedut is something so great that it is something, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. The key with the evil inclination, the way we kill a snake is you have to kill him in the front. You have to kill him in the face. Right? If a person is able to kill the Yetzer Hara in the face, if he's able to step on his face, that means you conquered your morning. If he gets you, where does the snake bite a person? It bites you in your heel. That means if he's already bitten you in your heel, it's too late. It's too late. So we want to master our mornings. You can't control the middle of the day. Nobody can control the middle of the day, but you can control two things. You can control the mornings, and you can control the nights. The middle of the day, God knows what's going to happen to you. But if a person is able to have a strong offensive attack in the morning with tremendous gratitude, we spoke about the other day how normally people wake up and what do they say? What's missing in my life? And then they start focusing on, and then whatever you focus on, right? For example, you start focusing on brown, you're going to be in the sanitation business very quickly, because this is all you're going to see. So this is, unfortunately, if we don't master our focus, that's why Zamra yesterday is really taking that focus. So when you do hisbodedut, when you have a conversation with God, we're going to go through the whole thing, a person's able to direct his focus on where he wants to be focused on that day. You understand? And that way, a person is able to have a much more success. So the quality of your life is based on your quality of your communications. You talk about number one problem in divorces today is what? It's not sexual immorality, lack of communication. Lack of communication, number one problem. There's no communication with the couple. The wife is here, the husband's here. There's no communication. The same thing. You want a quality of life between you and your Creator? It goes down to your quality of communication. Most people are trying to control life, and they're trying to control the outcome of life, so they have tremendous amount of anxiety, because guess what? You can't control life. So unfortunately, when we're trying to do something, and a person has a problem, what does he do? He stresses all day about the problem, instead of scheduling an appointment to talk about the problem. So if you have a Creator, wouldn't you think, is a person not too good to ask for help? If you're stuck in a problem, what are you normally supposed to do? Ask for help. No? What would you do? If you're stuck in a problem, are you not too good to sit there and say, I need help with this. I can't control my Moroccan wife. I can't control my in-laws. I can't control, there's the Moroccan joke. I can't control anything. So a person, unfortunately nowadays, what do? We attack problems. We're trying to attack the problem instead of realizing who gave you the problem. The problem is given to you by your Creator. Remember, everything starts as a spiritual problem, and then it becomes a physical problem. But when a person tries to deal with the problem directly, instead of going to the reason why the problem came to you, then already you don't have the right strategy to win. So our job in life is to realize that we have to, every single problem, because let's be honest with each other. If it wasn't for the problem, you probably wouldn't ask God to help you. So problems, at the end of the day, bring you closer to God. I hate to tell you, that's the only way it works. You don't get closer to God you don't just wake up and say, I want to get closer to God. No, you're down and out, and you say, listen, I tried everything else. I get those guys. Listen, I tried everything else. Let me at least, let me try something. What do you have for me? What do you have for me? That's what they tell me. What do you have for me? I tried everything else. Oh, worrying didn't help you? Stress didn't help you? So when a person has a problem, now we know, what do? We schedule an appointment with God. That's what hisbodedut. It's a conversation with your Creator. Believe it or not, you'll hear many people tell you it's a waste of time. You'll hear many people, you're wasting time to Torah, you're crazy. It's not crazy to spend 23 hours on the phone, but to talk to God for an hour, he's nuts. That guy, he's nuts. The rest of the guys that talk to God, what are they doing? But to be on the phone for 23 hours, there's no problem with that, right? But the guy who's crazy is the guy who's actually approaching God. That's the galut that we're in today. Okay? So again, hisbodedut is not an easy thing, because the key with any success in everything, you have to master a specific time. Rabbi Nachman spoke about having a specific time for having this meditation, this conversation with God. If you're just going to say, when I get a chance, I'll do it, you're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. Because at the end of the day, you have to climb a mountain in life. Whatever you want, whether it's a zivug, whether you want to get married, whether you want livelihood, you're going to have to climb a mountain. And the mountain requires patience, and it requires every single day consistency. You have to basically master consistency. And that's what we want to get. So what happens? The Yetzer Hara tells you, no, you have no time, you can't do it, it's not going to help. Or you try a few times, and at the end of the day, when I started doing hisbodedut, it took me literally 6 months. 6 months to even get an answer. But I said, this is what I have to do. There's no other, what else am I going to do? Talk to my attorneys, what else am I going to do? I might as well try it. And after 6 months, that's when the big breakthrough came to my life. So that's what we have to understand. This is going to be, because it's such a high level, it's not easy. You're going to find every single excuse in the book not to do it. Not to do it. Okay? Let's talk about a few of the situations. How does a person know that he's close to his soul? We know when we're aligned with our soul, when a person is aligned with the soul, how does a person knows that? When we're aligned with our soul, then we know what our inner voice is telling us, then we know exactly what we have to do in life. Whether you're an artist, whether you're an attorney, whatever you're supposed to do in life comes to you very easily if you're aligned with your soul. In order to be aligned with your soul, you have to be able to be connected to prayer. We know in life, it's very simple. If a person is constantly, we know the word reaction and creation. It's the same words. Reaction, creation have the same exact letters. So either you're reacting to life by looking at all the problems, you're reacting to all the problems in life, or you're creating opportunities. You can't do both. So you can take those same words, either you're reacting or you're creating. What's the difference? If you're able to manage your state, if you're able to manage your stress. So it's like having a retail store, and you ask the guy, listen, how much did you sell today? Oh, we had a great day, but all day long I was dealing with returns. I said, returns? How much money did you make today? What are you dealing with, returns all day long? How much can you be successful if all day long you're dealing with returns? So if we don't have the right coping method, if we're able to say, you know what, I have a problem, this problem is I'm not going to worry about this problem. This problem is for 7 o'clock to talk to Hashem. Then you have a coping method. The problem today is we don't have a coping method. How do we cope with situations? How do we cope? There's no way to cope. So that's why we need hisbodedut. You need that specific amount of time where a person can talk to his creator. So how do you know that you're close to your soul? What Nachman says here very carefully in lesson 67. He says, what happens? Occasionally, not all occasionally nowadays, I would say all the time, a person's soul becomes very tired on account of having grown from its source. What happens if you're not constantly refreshing your soul becomes very tired. It's exhausted. Life's got you like that. It's constantly tired. Why? Because we separate from our soul. So he's saying here, when a person prays without a heart, when a person prays, if he's just looking at the book, and it's a burden to him, that causes his soul to be away from him. You understand? So what happens is when we pray without a heart, the soul is distant from its glory, as it says in the pasuk of Isaiah. With their lips they honor me, but their heart is very distant. Very distant. Yeah, they're moving their lips, but their heart is not even close to where their lips are. We have to connect two things. We have to connect the heart, and we have to connect speech. How do you know that? When you have intensity, when a person prays with a heart, those prayers go through. But when it's just a bunch of lip service, and you go to a service, or you go and you don't have that relationship with God, then it's just a bunch of lip service. So what happens? Your soul becomes very tired, and at the end of the day, that's where a lot of times people feel, oh, it doesn't work, and that's why people drift away from the religion, because they don't feel it. Okay? But when the heart is distant from the words of prayer, then the soul becomes very, very tired. And what happens? What do we have to do? What happens is when a person has a lot of negative thoughts, or a person is not able to control his state, or a person starts dwelling on garbage all day long, which we love to do. We love to be obsessed with stories. What happens is, what do you think happens to those thoughts? They don't just go away. All of a sudden, the more a person thinks negativity, what happens? He builds a cloud. He creates a cloud on top of his head. Right? You see the cartoons with the little guy walking, and you see the cloud with the thunder, and it's sunny outside for everybody else, but the guy's got like that. That's what happens. That's what happens when a person, God forbid, the other side is connected to stress. We know contemplation. If you want to get any kind of answer from your Creator to see whether you should do something or not, God does not dwell with a person who's under stress or depression. If a person constantly has anxiety and depression, you're not going to get the answer. I 2 weeks ago, somehow I got caught up in this garbage for 2 days. I couldn't even come up with a class for 2 days. Normally the classes, they come to me like this. Start writing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 2 days shut down. Closed. No signal for 2 days. No Wi-Fi, no nothing. Completely closed for 2 days. I said, wow. I can't believe 2 days I was shut down completely. I had to play replays. I said, this is what stress. I said, imagine this is the way people live every day. This is the way they live every day. How could you live like this every day? And I said, how could you live like this? This is not a way to live. But unfortunately, people are living like this every day. So you don't get the signal. You have no Wi-Fi password. I said the other day that it's like Yonah. You know, Yonah got swallowed by a whale. And instead of crying out to get the heck out of the whale, what's the Wi-Fi password for the whale? I'm stuck in a whale. What's the Wi-Fi password? Do you have Apple TV? You stay in comfort instead of saying, I got to get out of this problem. There's a reason why I feel a certain way. So how do we know when our heart is distant from the word of prayer? That means when we don't have our heart. If we don't have a heart, you don't have kavanah, you don't have a zivug. You don't have a zivug, shefa cannot come down. Shefa only comes down when there is a pairing of malchut and the heart and speech. So whatever's getting you not to concentrate, that's what's causing a person not to get contemplation. So you have the biggest answers in life, like, should I marry this girl? Should I do this business? When should I get my mother-in-law out of my house? These are questions we all have. But without hisbodedut, you don't have answers. How do you get the answer? Where is the answer? Who's got an answer for me? Who's got the answers? The answer is in your heart. Your heart is going to tell you what you need to do. So a person understands this is the only way. So when we grow accustomed to our heart, what happens? We have this cloud over us because the negativity creates a cloud over you, and that's why you feel so tired. They're called klipot, they're called husk, they sit over you. And then what do you have to do? The cloud doesn't go away. What do you have to do? You have to scream out in prayer. What happens when you scream out? You create thunder. What does the thunder do? The thunder penetrates the clouds, and then rain comes down. You understand? So if you don't take your intensity up in prayer, because you have a crooked heart. How does a crooked heart? Negativity creates a crooked heart. That's why thunder, what's the reason thunder was created? Thunder was created to what? To remove the crookedness from the heart. That's why thunder was created. Because when you hear thunder, everybody shakes up. But he's not talking about that thunder. He's talking about your own thunder. So why does a person not have this thunder? What's causing him not to have this thunder is what? Is a person not having his heart into the prayer. So think about in your life why you wake up, you're tired, you wake up, it's because you're dwelling on things you're not supposed to be dwelling on. So that's why if we don't have a coping method, then everything else is resulted. So he's saying here that once we're able to burst this cloud, then it creates the rain, and that is what gives us sustenance. We know Adam. Adam was the first person. God did not create rain in the world, only when Adam prayed. So this is not, speech is not like meditation. Meditation, you can think about it. But sometimes you know what you do in meditation? You focus on nothing, and then you're just recycling the same garbage over and over. So the garbage has to be taken out. Hisbodedut, you take the garbage out. You can't just cycle the garbage all day long. Yes, meditation is good if it's accompanied with a hisbodedut. But if it's just a bunch of dwelling on the same thing just to quiet your mind for 20 minutes, I still got the problem. What do I do? What do? You still got the problem. So it's not enough meditation. When you hisbodedut, we're going to talk about the 3 steps. It's asking for help. It's asking for your deficiencies. It's asking for what's going on in your life. God gives you a problem so you can be aroused and wake up and speak to Him. Not to go and say, I need a pill for depression. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. The answer is to not numb the pain. Everybody wants to numb the pain today. I have pain, I just need to numb it. But what's causing the pain? What's the cause? Stop numbing. You can't numb things. You can numb it, and at the end of the day, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We got to deal with the pain. Pain comes, but we have to be able to deal with it. So once we're able to do that, once we have this rain, we have this water, then the cool water rectifies, and this is what happens. It all of a sudden, then we get a new revival of prayer. In Breslev, it's okay. It's okay. It's only 3,000 people. It's okay. So in Breslev, what do we do? If a person's upset, you know what they tell him? You didn't do hisbodedut today. They don't insult anybody. They tell, go do hisbodedut. Because you're trained in Breslev, this is the only solution you have. If you know this is the only solution you have, then this is what we're going to do. Okay? When Noah was flooding, when the world was flooded, we know Noah was the first case of post-traumatic stress. So what happened to Noah? All of a sudden, what did Noah say? He says, Lord of the universe, you should have mercy on your creators. So you know what God replied to him? You foolish shepherd. Now you are complaining? Earlier I told you you had 200 years to build the ark. Now you're going to cry out in prayer? Same thing in your life. You're down 7-0. You're down 14-0. Hello, when are you going to turn it around? When are you going to sit there and stop numbing pain? The same thing. So you're going to sit there. See, God originally, He sends you signals. Okay, listen, I need you to pick it up. You don't listen to that signal. You're down 7-0. Okay. Something's wrong with the defense. We keep on getting blown every play. Every day I'm getting blown out. 14-0. Change the defense. Change what you're doing. So sometimes you're going to get to a place, you're going to say, I lost my house, I lost my wife, Now you start praying. So that's also negligence. Because the point is, don't get to the point where you're in desperation all the time. Get into a point where this is a daily thing where we don't accumulate debt. We don't want to accumulate debt. Because once you accumulate debt, you have to pay a lot of interest. Because one thing is to get you out of the problem, and another thing is to motivate you to get you out of the problem. Not only do I have to tell you, listen, this problem's killing you. I have to motivate you. It's like not enough that the guy should, common sense, should get out of the problem. You have to motivate the guy to get out of the problem now. So we don't want to accumulate debt. That's why all suffering in the world is considered a lack of dat. Another Torah that Rabbi Nachman has here. He's saying here, part of hisbodedut, we're going to go into 3 steps. It says when a person secludes himself, see what happens is everybody's too focused on what they're saying. It's not about what you're saying. God's going to send you the words to pray. You just have to make an effort to show that I need humility. And the only way to get humility is to go and speak to God. Once a person starts working on himself, which is the second step of hisbodedut, you know what they do upstairs? They cancel the judgment on the guy. There's a thing called no double jeopardy. What's double jeopardy? Double jeopardy means you can't get tried twice. Let's understand this. You can't get tried twice. What does that mean? That means heaven is sending a judgment on a person. For example, if the guy has a big ego, or the guy has something, whatever the guy's default is, heaven will say, okay, he's got to learn a lesson, because this is what he did. What happens? That lesson comes to him. But if he all of a sudden says, you know what? I think I did something wrong. I think I should, I regret what I did. What happens here? It says, when you judge yourself, the minute a person begins to evaluate himself, God sends them an urgent message that forbids the heavenly court from passing judgment because he's working on himself. So the minute you start working on yourself, even if you're successful, even if you're saying the right things, automatically they cancel judgment on you. Bankruptcy court, nobody can take his creditor, nothing happens to the guy. That's the power of it. That means it stops. The minute you say, you know what, I'm making a mistake, I think I need to evaluate what I'm doing. The minute you do that, all of a sudden, what happens? They cancel it. Cancel the thing until he works out. And then, it says, when a person secludes himself and he speaks his peace to God, what happens? Confessing and speaking all the enormity of all his issues that he's going through. God, what happens here? God will come down to you and she will console him. Because what happens is when you're humble, God comes to you. God comes to a person who's humble. Well, who's humble? The one who works on himself. And what happens? She will seek a strategy to fix his problems. So basically, it's like telling you, here you go, I'm giving you an open book test. All you have to do, come, speak, tell me what you're going through, and I will give you the answer what you need. Here, open book test. So you can't say I don't have time for an open book test. Right? It's an open book test. How could you not take an open book test? That's exactly what happens. Every single situation that I've had in my life, very simple. Okay, we'll talk about it in hisbodedut. Right now we have the rest of the day. The rest of the day, we have to make the best of the rest of the day. What happens? You have a problem at 11, the day's shot. So you lose the whole day. You lose the opportunity for the whole day. That whole day went to garbage. Instead of saying, okay, I have a problem at 11, We'll wake up at 7 o'clock, we'll wake up at 6 o'clock, and we'll talk to God about the problem, and then this is the way I cope with things. I don't attack problems, I don't get angry at problems, I don't deal with problems, because I know there's no other way to fix a problem than directly going to the source of the person who gave me the problem. Common sense. Like I said, common sense is not always common practice. Most of the things that I say is not very, very deep. It's a lot of common sense. So if you think, if a person's all day long yelling at the mailman for giving him the letter, or yelling at his wife for screaming at him, or trying to convince his wife to change and be nicer to him, good luck. How's that going to happen? That's why everything has to be done in prayer. Prayer. Don't attack a situation. The Baal Shem Tov says, whenever you see a reflection on you that bothers you, what do you see on other people that bothers you? It's something that you're doing. Basically, if you point one finger, you're pointing 3 fingers back. So we look through hints, through people, how God makes us change. So every single day you can look at hints. So he says, wow, you know what, it looks like I don't have any patience, because I just met somebody who pissed me off, he cut me off on the road. It must be that I don't have any patience. And then you realize, you know what, I don't have any patience. So that person is there to show you what's wrong with you. If he doesn't bother you, then that's a different story. But if whatever a person gets bothered, is to show a person that he is blemished in a certain area. So we speak a lot about goals. So why do we actually have to speak? If God knows exactly what's in your mind, why do I have to speak it out? Right? Why do I have to speak it out? It says prayer must be spoken out loud, literally. It is not enough to think of the prayers. It's true that God knows everything that you're thinking about, but the words have to be spoken, because speech is a vessel. Speech is a vessel. You have to speak success into existence. You want success? You first have to speak it into existence. If speech is not spoken into existence, if victory is not spoken into existence, then you don't even believe it. So speech is a vessel. Speech has to be spoken, because otherwise it's just in your head. And everything has to go through thought, word, and deed. So speech is part of thought, word, and deed. In order for something to happen, you have to express your desires. We know when the Jews were in Egypt, what was the problem? They were in Mitzrayim. What does Mitzrayim represent? Mitzrayim means Egypt, right? You are in a Mitzrayim. Whenever a person is stuck in a problem, he's constricted, right? I'm stuck. I don't know what to do, right? So the problem is in Mitzrayim. He's in Mitzrayim. What does Mitzrayim mean? It means a constriction. Mitzrayim comes from the word Metzar Hagaron. Means what? It's in the back of the neck. The speech is in the back of the neck. So what do I have to do? Take it from Mitzrayim to get where? To get Pesach. Pesach. Open up your mouth. You have to go from the back of the neck, which is Metzar, in the constriction. Open up your mouth. You have a mouth. We've all heard it. Open up your mouth in prayer. That causes the vessel. The blessing you receive is accordant to the words you speak. So if my blessing comes according to my prayer, and I'm not spending any time in prayer because I don't have time, because I'm dealing with all my problems, where am I going with this mentality? Poverty is a lack of dat. Is a lack of dat. Bottom line, it's a lack of knowledge. So if I know that unless I speak it into existence, I can't have the vessel, and without the vessel, light cannot come into it. So what am I doing? Where am I spending my time on problems? Where am I spending it? Think about it. What are you doing? So it's not, people think, oh, it's so tough. No, you just got to get better. Life is not so tough. It's not tough. If you're in control of your state, you'll see blessings all day long. You'll speak blessings into existence. But if you're always reacting to life, yeah, of course. Of course it's tough playing defense every single day and reacting to problems and saying this person upset me and that person upset me and this one did that to me. Yes, that's a tough life. It's like carrying a lot of load. But what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? So that's one thing a person has. When you articulate the words on your lips in a well-ordered prayer, you are able to receive rich blessings, and you pray for whatever you need, whether physical, spiritual, whatever it is. But don't be like Noah, that at the end of the day, where were you? Where were you? So that's the thing, is we have to realize, in order for something to come into existence, it must be spoken out. not just thinking. Thinking, you do a lot of that already. You don't get paid to think, you get paid to speak. When you speak, that creates the vessel to go from potential to actual. Otherwise, what happens? If you don't have that relationship with God, what happens? Then life becomes very, very tired and exhausting. So it's not about, I talk to everybody, motivation, everybody loves the motivation. No, it's perspiration. 2% motivation, 98% perspiration. That means nothing happens without execution. Execute. That means tomorrow morning, you should say, okay, that's enough. I heard enough about hisbodedut. I'm waking up 10 minutes early. We'll go over what we have to do, and we got to start. Because if you're just getting motivated all the time, and you're not executing, did you execute the contract? No, I motivated the customer. You motivated. Are you getting paid to be a motivational speaker? Are you getting paid to execute the contract? Stop motivating. I need execution. Where's the contract? We don't ask, did you motivate the customer? He's such a nice guy. He loved me. I have a sales. He loved me. He gave me tea. He gave me coffee. Where is the contract? Where is the execution? No execution? What the heck were you doing there for 2 hours without the contract? So if you don't take this word execution, then all of these classes is nonsense. It's just a bunch of knowledge. Knowledge is not, everybody has knowledge. Koreans have knowledge. They learn the Gemara also. Execute. Without execution, forget it. And if your feelings are telling you, oh, I'm tired, I need motivation. The problem is constantly needing motivation. We already need to start creating new habits. We need to start already creating new ways to win. You got to get into execution mode. And I tell people, okay, how many times did you hear the same message? Come on. So I want results from people. I'm not comfortable, oh, it's a nice, no, I want to see results. And I've seen people that do hisbodedut, they've had tremendous results. Because remember, the whole reason for the problem is just so you can get closer to God. That's the reason. It's not there to hurt you. It's there to give you a lesson. God doesn't punish. He educates. He educates. Education's not cheap. Education's not cheap. But the good thing is, you should know, if I can educate myself, then I can turn into execution. Remember, if you're a person that executes, you execute in hisbodedut, you execute in business, you execute in exercise, you execute across the board. But if you're not an executor in anything, then that's the way you are, across the board. That's the way a person's weight is the way he is, because he doesn't execute. He doesn't turn potential into actual, which is Rabbi Nachman says, lesson 66. Turn potential into actual. Everything else is just in potential. Unless you put the ring on the girl, it's just potential. Once you put the ring, it's actual. Other than that, you're just dating, you're floating, and you know what else floats. So this is the mind frame that a person has to have. And that's why, thank God I'm not a rabbi. Thank God I'm not a rabbi. Because this is what people need to hear. It's just a lot of more talking, but no execution, no pressure on execution on any of this. So that's why I speak the way I speak, because otherwise these problems don't go away. So let's talk about the order of hisbodedut. Okay? Remember, when we gave the example, the word mediocre. When you don't execute, then you're an average guy. Oh, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Where does the word mediocre come from? Mediocre.
Medium.
Where does that come from? Mediocre comes from medi, means a mountain, ochre. You're in the middle of a mountain. I'm sorry. Medi means middle, ochre means mountain. I'm sorry. Mediocre. That means, it means in Latin, you're stuck in a mountain. You're not going up, you're not going down. You're stuck in an elevator. So this is the mind frame. When you don't execute, then you have an average mind frame. An average mind frame is a plague. It's a plague. It's the biggest plague you can have. Why are we not react? Why are we not taking this? Oh, I don't know if it's going to work. We know in the parsha last week, what did we say? The first thing. Why were the Jews blessed? Because they dwelled in solitude. They dwelled in boded. What does boded mean? They did hisbodedut. When a person has blessing, he does hisbodedut. Also in Megillat Esther. You know in Megillat Esther? God loved Haster. He loved Esther. The king loved Esther more than any other prayer. More than any other queen. What does Esther mean? He likes the hidden prayer. He likes the hidden prayer. Hester means hidden. He likes the hidden prayer. So that's where we do a lot of the lifting. You get rewarded in public for what you do in private. You understand? Now it's the reverse. They want to do everything in public and they want to get rewarded. It's not. All the work has to be done in private between you and your creator. Then you see results in public. I mean, it's crazy. I have to speak to everybody about talking to God. It's like, I feel like what kind of synagogue am I in here? This is an Orthodox synagogue. It's so hard to talk to God because the Yetzer Hara is so big. So let's talk about the order. Let's talk about exactly what you would be doing. Okay, lesson 25, Rabbi Nachman says here that hisbodedut is highest asset, greater than everything, that is a person has to set aside with a specific time and speak to his creator in his own language. The first thing you should talk about is what's on your mind. Because I can't say, oh, I love you, God, I love you, God. Meanwhile, I have my mortgage is up and I can't pay my mortgage. It's not going to be real. You understand? You have to talk about the first thing that's on your mind. Because that's the first thing that needs to be attacked. What is on your mind right away? Hashem, this is on my mind. I need help. Meditation is just thinking. It's like the law of attraction, waiting for the check to come. You're meditating, you're attracting a check. Next thing you know, they're foreclosing on the guy's house. Where's the check? We don't work like that. Don't get into this just focusing on the law of attraction. It's different for us completely. Everything happens in speech. So, why is it also hard for a person to pray? To a person to do hisbodedut? Because in order to praise God, what do you have to do first? If I want to praise somebody, what do I have to do first? I have to thank him. Moshe, for example, here, right? If Moshe brings me a glass of water, I say, Moshe, thank you. You're a nice guy. Tomorrow, what does Moshe do? He brings me a couple chairs. Oh, what a nice guy Moshe is, right? All of a sudden, I'm in the airport, and I forget my passport. You know what he says? Moshe, I'm going to go get it for you. I'm going to go home and bring it to the airport. Then I start saying, what do I start doing? I start praising Moshe. Oh, well, look at this. Moshe, what a nice guy. He's not just a regular thank you. You start praising him. So the more a person sees God's little things, the more the little things God does for the person, it's very easy to praise. It's very easy to talk. But if you're not thanking, it's very hard to praise. Does that make sense? It's hard for me to talk to God if I'm constantly saying thank you, then it's very easy just to talk. But the problem is, it's very hard to talk if I'm not thanking. Because what am I thanking you? What am I talking to you about? What am I thanking you for? What? For what? For no growth? For everything not going my way? For being single when I'm 35? For what? What am I thanking you for? It's very hard. So you're not warmed up. So when you start thanking every day, that creates the ability to praise. Just like I gave the example. So when you see the little victories, then you have the big victories. But you can't go for the big victories if you're not focusing on the little victories. So the minute you start with gratitude, when a person starts with gratitude, automatically, if a person is a human being, he's going to praise because he's going to appreciate what a person does for him. But if you don't do that, it's very hard to talk. Does that make sense? So that's why it's much harder for other people to do hisbodedut, because all day long they're not really looking at what's good in their life, so it's very hard for them to praise. So he's saying here, what do you do? He said the prayer should be in your native tongue, not in Hebrew, in the tongue that's closest to your heart. It should be in your native tongue, and it should speak. It's very easy, like you're speaking to a friend, just like you're talking to a friend. Because remember, this is not about results. It's not about what I say. What do I say? Did I have a good one? Did I not have a good one? It's about the fact that you're taking time to be humble and realizing that you need prayer, that I can't accomplish this without prayer. That's the mentality saying, you know what? This guy realizes that he comes to God. That shows emunah. What is emunah? I open up my mouth. When I have an obstacle, I open up my mouth. That's what you're showing. It's what you're showing. It's not what you're, what do I say? What do I do? Don't say. Even if you go out there, Rabbi Nachman's going to tell you here, even if you go out there in hisbodedut and you say 0, it's very good for you. Even if you stand there and you have nothing to say, but please help. It's amazing for you. Because that shows humility. A person that doesn't have humility thinks he gets everything for free, without prayer. Well, I'm expected this to come to me. Why do I have to pray for it? I expected it to come to me. That person is very arrogant. Because he's saying, why do I have to go and pray for something? What is that telling you about you? Well, I have to go? You know who I am? Why should I go pray? Things come to me easy. So the one thing that doesn't come easy, what does he do? Starts complaining. There's the arrogance. There's the problem. That's why the arrogance, the ego, is one of the toughest things we have to fight today. The ego is the Yetzer Hara, saying, I am expected this to happen to me. We're all in problems today because of our expectations. All of our problems, 99% of them, are because we expected a different reality than what we have now. You understand? So if we dwell on what's wrong, instead of turn that expectation to appreciation, if we dwell on what's wrong, we're going to get sick, we're going to compare, we're going to look at other people's life, that's going to destroy us. So what do? We have to turn that expectation into appreciation. So he's saying here, all you have to do, it has to be at a scheduled time. And even if a person, his first hisbodedut, if a person's first hisbodedut should be, God, I have nothing to say to you, that itself is hisbodedut. Right now, God, I'm coming outside, I heard about this hisbodedut thing, I never understood, nobody taught me how to speak to God. I always thought things came to me easy, and I think I have to talk to you. I think this is the beginning. I want to create a relationship. But you did this wrong. You did that wrong. You did this wrong. Because people don't want to approach God because of shame. And we spoke about in Azamra, that's not the approach you should have. You should say, come in there with all your issues. God wants you. He wants to fix you. He wants to provide for you more than you think. So the first thing is if you have nothing to say, if you have nothing to thank Him, Hashem, I want to come to you just to speak to you and start having a relationship with you. That's the first step. If you have nothing else to say that. Okay, so let's talk about the order. The hisbodedut should be in a specific place. Remember, we want to create. Remember, just like you have the same habits that you do that are not good. How did those habits come? How do we create negative habits in our life? We did the same thing over and over and over and over, right? And we ingrained the habit. So it's very hard to get out of that habit. So if we just focus on breaking habits, it's very, very difficult. Because now, America, January 15th, everybody goes to the gym. January 1st, January 15th, see you. You never see the guy back. He's a 2-week workout, right? Everybody's 2 weeks. Everybody's hot for 2 weeks, right? This is the new year. This is me. Where are you going? This is where you are. You're not going anywhere. You said the same thing for the past 10 years. You're going to go to the gym. And January 15th comes, they say 80% or 90%, they're already dropping the New Year's resolution. They're already done. Because nobody can deal with a little pain. Little pain. No, let's numb the pain. We don't want to deal with the pain. So we can't just create, if you're just working on breaking habits, it's going to be very difficult for you. It's very difficult. You have to create new ones. Create new ones. If an addict is just focusing on his problem, on breaking an addiction, it's very hard for him to do it. Because all he's doing is focusing on the darkness in his life. What we try to do is we try to create light in other areas. So if he has enough light here, he has enough light here, he has enough light here, then he builds light in other areas of his life, and that light will be compounded, and eventually he'll be able to fight that habit. If you just dwell on the negativity, if you just dwell on the problem, you're not going to have the willpower to do it. So what do? We create other habits that are good, and those habits over time will create motion, and that motion will be able to fight anything. You understand? So the first thing is we want to create a new habit. So I do an hour of hisbodedut. The hisbodedut should be 1/3, the first third. If you guys want to start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let's start with 15 minutes. If you can't spend 15 minutes by yourself, you probably need 2 hours, right? If you can't spend 15 minutes, we gave that example that they put people in the room for 15 minutes, and they said, can you spend 15 minutes by yourself? And they gave the shockers to people that if they don't want to wait the 15 minutes by themselves, what do? They were able to shock themselves. After 7 minutes, people started shocking themselves. I don't want to be by myself for 15 minutes. If you can't spend 15 minutes by yourself, then we got some fundamental issues. This is like the first thing that needs to be addressed. Do hisbodedut on not being able to spend 15 minutes by yourself. That should be your first one. God, I can't spend 15 minutes by yourself. I constantly have impulses. Where's my phone? Where is this? I need to get I don't want to dwell with reality. Where's my filter? Understand? That's the first problem. So what do? We have to do I would say the first 5 minutes would be gratitude. Honestly, I would say the first 5 minutes you should do whatever's on your mind. Because if you don't say what's on your mind, you're thinking about that. I would say the first 5 minutes, what's on your mind? What's the number one cloud that you got to deal with today? What's the number one issue you're dealing with today? What's the number one? Everybody has it, whether your children, whether your children you'll take all your energy out of your children. Your children, you're not married yet, you're zivug. That's the number one thing you should talk about. And don't ask for a situation to change. Ask for you to change. Hashem, I need a new perception. I don't have the right perception. I'm not looking at this the right way. You understand? I'm not looking at this the right way. I'm bitter. We don't want to go from bitter. We want to become from better. Not bitter, better. So the first thing is talk about what's on your heart. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. The second should be gratitude. Because just like you want to approach somebody, you don't just say, give me this. Imagine a kid tells you, give me this. Why are you talking like this? Give me this. I need this. What would you think of that kid? What would you think? This is the way you talk? How about hello, thank you, gratitude? You don't just say, I want this. I'm not giving you this. It's not how you speak. So first you have to warm up. How do you warm up? Gratitude. If you have nothing to be grateful for, you need to do a hisbodedut on having nothing to be grateful for. You got to get to if you have nothing to be grateful for, that means if your focus is that you can't see nothing good in your life, you need to do hisbodedut on being great on this. Basically what I want you to do is you got to keep on peeling the onion until you get to the root. You understand? You got to keep on peeling. Rabbi Nachman is saying here, don't worry about what comes out. What happens is, once you get into a groove of momentum, Hashem will put the words of what you need to pray for. It's the most powerful thing in the world. When a person has an open heart, lesson 138, Rabbi Nachman says, that Hashem will give him the words on what he needs to pray for. I've prayed for things, I said, how the heck did I get here? What am I talking about this? It's because when your heart is open, Hashem will give you the prayer on how to convince him. That's how I get all these lessons. I think I have 355 lessons. I'm a business. I'm running businesses. What do I do? Wake up hisbodedut. I bring a pen. After hisbodedut, okay, this is the class today. And that's how it comes out. That's how it comes out. There's no way in the world I can plan for all this stuff. But that's exactly how it comes out. So after hisbodedut, you almost, when you get into a groove, it's almost like a person's working out, he gets that second whiff of dopamine in his workout. The beginning is tough. Working out. You got to get warmed up. But once you get that runner's high, you know what that runner's high is? It's like that runner's high, that's the same thing that happens spiritually. You get that runner's high, and then from there, that's when God sends you the words on what to say for, what to speak for. So the problem here is, this is a marathon. Success is a marathon of consistency. I'm not asking you to be a prophet. I'm asking you to be consistent. I'm asking you to execute. Don't worry about what to say. You will figure out what to say. You will get the hints on what to say. Don't be focused on what to say. I'd rather you suck than skip it. Better to suck at it than skip it. Don't skip it whatsoever. Because every time we go there, we make an effort, we're starting to build momentum. And when you stop momentum, once something is in motion, it continues to be in motion. Same thing with speech. But once you stop it, then what happens? The song stops. So the first thing you should say is what's on your heart. Number one problem, what's on your heart. Pray for a different perspective. Don't pray for a situation to change without you changing the situation. Doesn't make any sense, right? How could that change? The reason why I got the problem is because I was put in the situation so I could see that I'm doing something wrong. Understand? And a grateful person praying for more things, it's a foolish prayer. Understand? So we have to, that's the first gratitude. Second is mishpat. Mishpat is judgment. We spoke about having double jeopardy. What happens is the way it works is light is always coming down. But unfortunately, the light doesn't come to us because we're not transparent. Right? If light can come through you, if you were transparent, you would receive light directly. Right? But what's stopping the transparency? Shadows, blockages. So it's very hard for light to penetrate when there's blockages. For example, if you have an anger problem, that anger problem can basically overcome your whole success in life. So what does Rabbi Nachman say? Work on one thing at a time. Don't go mumble, 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 mumble. Work on one thing at a time, because it's not about, it's literally about removing layers and layers and layers. You know, in anger, what does it come from? It comes from the highest form of expectation. So it's not like you can repair your soul, you lose your soul. They say when a person's angry, not only does he get his soul, they switch the soul from the other side. He gets like another soul that comes into him, and it takes over him. That's why alcoholics, anger, it's one of the worst things, because it's the ultimate saying that I don't like the way things are going in here, and I don't like the way it's going, and I'm mad at it, so I'm going to scream. So anger comes from the same source as money, because money is can't come easy. It has to come through the left. So you have to pass through anger to make money. So if you're not on top of your game, any little wind is going to take you. So that's one thing he's saying here. You have to do exactly what is the number one shadow in Mishpat. Mishpat means judgment. Don't go, I have this problem, I have that problem, I have that problem, I have that problem. What is your number one? What's the number one thing that you have a problem with? Because you came to this world to fix. Person comes in this world, he has specific tendencies that he has to fix, that he came with baggage. You came with baggage, believe it or not. You didn't come here. Everybody has that one guy, he talks a lot. Another guy is very depressed all the time. He sold everything to him, gloomy, gloomy, gloomy. This president, that president, all day long he's very depressed. So he came here to fight that depression. So he almost got it when he was in DNA. You can't. Not everybody is on a level playing ground. Not everybody. Whatever's hardest thing to you, that's what you need to work on harder. Another guy is all about passions and drugs and alcohol and money and desires. That's a water sign. That's an impulse. Fire comes from anger. So if you're built and you come with a lot of fire, time to cool off. Because that's the one thing that you came here to repair. So if you don't repair that little thing, that unfortunately takes over the shadow. That creates that shadow, doesn't allow light to penetrate to you. You spoke about anger keeps a 5-hour effect on your immune system, by the way. 5 hours it affects your immune system. When you get angry, the other day I was angry, 5 hours it took me to recover. So it means you lose 5 hours in your day. That times 5, 25 hours a week, you're not getting paid for that. So it's going to destroy you. So you have to get yourself in a state of bittul. Bittul means you have to transcend yourself to God so you can receive the signal. So we have to work on number one thing. Seclude yourself at length and work on your number one thing until you merit to negate every single bad habit. That means you can't do it by yourself. You have to work on negating yourself to that number one emotion that's killing you. Then you start seeing light. You're part of God, so the light naturally comes down to you. So you're part of God. So once a person already has gratitude and he gets all the garbage off his chest, and then he starts saying, you know what, I'm sorry for this. I need help with this addiction. I need help with my anger. Wow, look how you're coming now. Now you can come and request things. Now you can come and request things, and you have a chance to be answered now. Because you already came with that. You came humbly, you had gratitude, you had mishpat, you judged yourself, and then you came with a humbleness. And I usually ask in hisbodedut all the time. I ask for undeserved gifts. That's my favorite thing to pray for. Undeserved gifts. You know what's good about undeserved gifts? You can't get audited for undeserved gifts. There's a room in heaven called there's a room for undeserved gifts. It's like the unclaimed property. You know that they have unclaimed property? But the problem is everybody thinks they deserve everything. So that room is full of gifts, and then one person prays for undeserved gifts, he gets all the gifts from everybody. You understand? Because everybody says, I deserve this, I deserve this, I deserve this. So if a person's praying for Matanah, Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the most humblest man of the world, and he deserved every single gift that he got, and you know what he prayed for? Undeserved gifts. If Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for undeserved gifts, how much more should we pray for undeserved gifts? So when you pray for undeserved gifts, they don't check you out. They don't look at you, they don't check your license, they don't check your speeding record, they don't check anything. They just give. Because you're praying for undeserved gifts. So it's the way you approach. It's the approach. It's the way you approach. It's the humbleness. That's what creates this thing. That's what creates prayer. So in order for people don't understand, if you guys are in any kind of business, if you're in any kind of business, you know that in order to make a profit is a concept of a pregnancy, right? I need to make a profit, Hashem. That means in order for me to make a profit, it's a step, it's considered like having a baby. You don't just make a profit in one day. You have to scream out 70 screams for profit. So these headaches that you have in business, they're just contractions. You know, if a wife tells you, listen, I have contractions. Okay, it's a contraction. Don't think it more than a contraction. It's just a contraction. So we have the option to have the contractions in prayer or contractions in business. What would you rather have? What would you rather have? In prayer. I don't want a contraction in business. God forbid a contraction can come in abortion in business if I have a bad day. I want to have the contractions in prayer. So the more time you spend the effort in prayer, the less headaches you have in business. So when you wake up in the morning, first thing you do is you do 15 minutes of gratitude. You're already coming there with humbleness. You already won half the war. Then you come there to office with a settled mind. You look at things differently. Oh, it's a contraction. It's just a contraction. You look at things completely different. You're focused. A person's focused. He sees the goal right in front of him, and he knows it's just a matter of time. Person who comes in with no gratitude, he just comes into work. I'm stressed out. What's going on? What's going on with this? He's just one problem away from the snake biting his heel. Just one mistake away. One email. One thing away, he's gone. So through hisbodedut, not only is it going to give you a new way of coping with things, because if you have a way of coping with things, you don't need anything else. You don't attack a problem. You schedule an appointment with God, and the more consistent you are, it shows God how serious you are, and that's what's going to change your life 100%. And I've seen major changes from many, many people from this. So I strongly advise you, remember here, it's not about motivation, no execution. You can have all the customers say you're the greatest guy in the world. Until you execute, you're just it's all air. All air. Start executing. All right, this is class.